Good day, fellas. I hope you are ready for your daily dose of skill, and today we are having a movie time. Let's see what Wargaming have ready for us, or prepared for us, I suppose to say. It is a very controversial topic overall. Artilleries. Some people love them, some people hate them. I will offer you my thoughts about artists, how to fix the problem and how not to change the game drastically, or however you are saying this, and which would probably make life so much easier for every single of us. But first of all, let's see Wargaming presentation. What do they have prepared for us, and what kind of changes they have. Also, fellas, remember one more thing. Sandbox server is open, so you can check out Artas, you can test Artas yourself, and you can see many things here. And this is truly hot topic, right? I believe quite some of you are yelling, Jeff Clicker, or Ferrari, right? Every single of us have the things which we do not like in the game. In other words, no one would say the game is perfect, right? Someone don't like Arta, someone don't like RNG, someone don't like matchmaking, and so on. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, movie time. Let's sit back, let's enjoy it. I will stop the video in certain points to say what do I think about it and so on. And now, without further ado, let's go.
In World of Tanks is a tactical, unhurried, and appealing vehicle type for many players. At the same time, it's the most controversial vehicle type in the game. The third iteration of the Sandbox server is fully dedicated to SPGs. We recently tested our hypotheses regarding high explosive shells and a brand new crew system. Now we've come to another topic that is on the minds of many players.
And crew system completely failed. People bash it so damn hard about that because it is pretty much demolishing all game knowledge which they had, and it's no bueno. Plus it became kind of more pay to win, if we can say so, because more experience at crew you have, better chances you are going to have to win the game, but like drastically better chances, right? And it was demolished by the World of Tanks players. Everyone was crying about it, and everyone was saying it is bad. Speaking about the crew.
And the Sandbox is the best place to test the new ideas. The Sandbox server in World of Tanks is a test range of sorts, where we try the most complex and nuanced mechanics under conditions that are as close to real as possible. During testing, we conduct surveys and gather information about player behavior. Test participants influence the future of the game through both their words and actions. They help clarify which mechanics need improvement, what should be removed, and what additions can be made. For your activity during all three Sandbox iterations, you can get rewards in the form of in-game items on your main account. Further details are available on the website. Artillery has always been an important part of the game's ecosystem. It has a distinctive influence on battles, helps develop them, and represents one of the tactical layers of armored combat in general.
Pretty much what Wargaming is saying, they are asking for every single person to go onto the test server and test the things out. That's what they are asking, right? Which I completely understand.
The statistics show that artillery is popular among players.
Artillery is definitely popular among the players because every single of you can notice that yourself. You are playing with your beloved KV-85 or T-150 heavy tank or OI, and then you are seeing 3 M44s in the battle, and then you are thinking, oh my bananas, what I supposed to do, right? This is what majority is people thinking, which is playing with a heavy tank or slower tank overall, right? As an example, Su-100i AK Fridge, right?
One way or another, more than half of all players join battles in SPGs from time to time.
I agree, majority of the players is joining the battle with SPG from time to time because there is artillery missions to do. Without ARTA missions, there is a big chance quite some people would never ever grind artillery just because they don't need to. And now you want to get 260, right? You need to complete artillery missions unless you are an excellent player or very strong player, and then you can get the 260 by using the orders in order to do so. But usually usually it is like endgame content, you know. You need to be very, very strong player in order to do so. And for majority of the World of Tanks players, yes, they need to play with art, exactly, because you made them to do. This is obviously to wargaming side, right?
The reason for this is that artillery allows for playing at a steady pace with no rush. At the same time, artillery is quite a controversial vehicle type. Despite many improvements, it's still a matter of a debate. One artillery shell that comes in from somewhere beyond the horizon has several simultaneous effects. It causes damage, damages modules, and stuns. We know that the latter is very frustrating for players. We want less stun in the game. It's also hard for players in the heat of the battle to evaluate when and where the artillery will fire.
Pretty much Wargaming said themselves they want less stun in the battle. So there is some of the ways how they can do that, and let's see how it's going to look like. By the way, before everything, skill, how you can comment on that if you haven't participated in the test server or something. Fellas, I was twice with Wargaming, right, with the developers or with the people which is working there invited to hear their thoughts and to have the conversation with them and so on, right? Obviously, I cannot say what we spoke there, but this is just information for you, right? I've tested this already. I was in the Sandbox server and I will say what I saw so far, okay? So let's go.
Tankers can't counter such an attack because they learn what the invisible enemy has planned only when they or their allies are hit. This is unfair.
Really?
The goal
unfair?
Of the upcoming changes tested on the Sandbox is to provide the players with new tools and more information to counter artillery fire. The artillery itself will have more opportunities to adjust to the combat situation due to the new interface features and revamped shell system, where only one of the 3 shells will keep the stun mechanic. The SPG players will use different types of shells with different effects, and that will lead to a noticeable decrease of stun in battles. At the moment, tankers don't have clear methods of countering artillery during battle. Largely, they can only rely.
We do. Hide next to the building and pray the thunder is not going to shit on us.
On their experience. With experience, there comes the understanding of artillery lines of fire on different maps, where the SPGs can be located and what you need to do to avoid their fire. But this wasn't supported by the game mechanics before. The new test features help players understand several things. They warn you that the artillery is firing directly at you. They give hints as to the artillery's approximate location. And if you're not the target, they show you where it's aiming.
Pretty much what they are doing right here, they're trying to make people less frustrated when you are getting banged by the artillery, right? They are going to give some more tools how you can see where art is and so on, right? Let's hear everything out and let's talk about this, and I will give you some examples when I think the things simply won't work in this way as Wargaming is thinking about. Let's go.
In battle, it's not always clear where the artillery is firing from. So you don't always know which positions offer cover from its fire. That's why the tracer of the artillery shells will be more noticeable during the Sandbox testing. A brighter and therefore a more visible tracer not only looks spectacular, but is also a useful tactical element. It can help you understand approximately where the artillery is located, what cover it can fire over, and where to hide from it.
This is very, very, very good feature. So pretty much tracers are becoming so much more visible. So even though if you are not getting hit, right, if before you needed to look where the splash is coming for, now you are going to see the tracer. That's a good thing, and this is in a way a bit of the nerf for artillery. I think it is a good feature.
It will help you take a safe position where its next shot won't hit you. The reworked tracers are clearly noticeable even from afar.
Good.
During the test, commanders will get a new perk to train, sound detection. It's designed to reduce the surprise effect from the artillery shells falling down from the skies. At the moment when artillery fires, the players in the impact area will see a special indicator. It signals that the vehicle is under fire and you need to change position quickly. The indicator is displayed according to certain rules. As you know, the artillery shells have a burst radius. For example, it's 10 meters for the Object 261. The danger zone inside which the indicator activates is a sphere around the burst radius, increased by 30%. In the case of the Object 261, the sphere's radius is 13 meters. Every vehicle will have its own imaginary sphere that depends on its size. If these spheres come in contact, sound detection will activate for that vehicle. The minimum sphere radius is 3 meters. This is the value of armor-piercing shells. Sound detection will also activate when the arty player aims and fires behind the vehicle, for example, if it's on a hill. Players will be notified when the vehicle sphere intersects with the artillery shell trajectory, but only at a distance of up to 75 meters from the point of impact. Sound detection won't activate in other cases. For example, if a fast tank rolled into the danger zone while the shell was still traveling. If 2 or more
That's typical example. You're going with your MX 15, MX 13, 90, and you are getting out a shell for 800. Did you saw how it was looking like? Stun it for 30 seconds and 800 in the face. Not bad, not bad. This is World of Tanks, which I know.
SPGs fire at once. Notifications for each SPG will appear. In cases when they fire from the same direction, only one indicator will display in order to not overload the interface. Depending on the shell velocity and distance to travel, sound detection will give you precious seconds to react and change position. You probably won't avoid damage completely, but there's definitely the chance to reduce it significantly.
If you are in this situation, first of all, artillery misfired right there. It's not like RNG won't play a role right there, right? We tested this thing in the test server, right? And when the distance is 1 kilometer or so, you are still going to take the damage. As an example, you are playing with E100, for example, right? And you are getting this notification, artillery shooting at you. You know what you can do with your 10 kilometers per hour? Okay, 30 kilometers per hour. Fellas, guess what you can do? You won't dodge the shell. You won't, it won't make a difference for you. What that means? That means for light tanks, life is going to be easier, and for medium tanks, life is going to be easier. As an example, you are playing with Jack Piston, you are sitting on the corner, and you are seeing this notification, Arta is coming for you. You know what you can do? You can say, cheese! It's not going to change the problem whatsoever, and still, can you imagine there is 3 artilleries in the game, right? So once again, even though you are getting notification, if you have the skill trained, it's still not changing anything. You will still get bursted by the Artas, right? 3 of those in the battle. So, you know, in my opinion, it is quality of life change, right? But it's going to change only agile tanks, mediums, or light tanks. Heavy tanks won't feel as big difference, in my opinion.
Sound detection and brighter tracers are clearly displayed sources of information that help in battle. They will be accompanied by a new tactical feature on the minimap. After the enemy shell hits the ground, a vehicle, or any other object, a special circle will appear in that spot on the minimap. You can select the option to display it in settings. The marker will disappear after 10 seconds, but will give you a lot of useful tactical information. The shell impact point will help you figure out where the artillery is firing from, as the number of convenient positions for it on the map is limited. Together with more noticeable tracers, this gives players an understanding of to where and from where the artillery is firing.
This is very, very good thing, and I think it is very, very nice. So on the map, you are going to see the marker when Art is going to splash next to the someone, right? This is going to be nice for 10 seconds, you know, Art shot. But once again, there is 3 artists, right? So as an example, if speaking about the tier 10 matchmaking, we have 261, which is reloading 22 seconds. We have T95, which is reloading 40 seconds. And we have whatever, Conqueror Game Carrier, which is reloading 45 seconds. Right, it still won't solve the problem. You will see the splashes, right, and everything, but the most frustrating thing is when there is 3 of them, at least in my experience, and what I and when I spoke with a lot of people in the game, right, or in the stream, once again, majority of the people are complaining about 3 of them. That's the main problem.
Additionally, the appearance of the marker means that the artillery is reloading, so you'll have a window of tactical opportunity. You can change position or attack with confidence, knowing there'll be no surprise from the skies. This will really help all the players who analyze the battle and monitor its development. The Reworked Mechanics will give players more visual and tactical information that they can use in battle. It will be clearer to where and from where the artillery is firing, and whether it is firing at you. Additionally, the artillery itself will undergo changes that will reduce the amount of stun in the game. It's assumed that this will increase the overall survivability of other vehicle types in battles with artillery. Tactical options provided for artillery will help it better react in combat situations and stay as effective as possible for its team. The main new feature in the test is 3 different shell types for SPGs. During the New Balance testing on the Sandbox in 2020, we increased the number of artillery shell types to 3 after adding AP shells. This system got mixed feedback. 3 shell types didn't increase adaptability because changing the shell type still took too much time. Armor-piercing shells, in their turn, proved to be not effective enough. Also, players weren't happy about the shell cost. The players in other vehicle types didn't get the desired changes as well. At the same time, players liked the concept of 3 different artillery shell types and a reduction in the amount of stun. That's why we didn't abandon this idea and started improving it. As it is now, artillery players don't have much choice. Let's take a look at the Object 261. It has a standard cheap shell with acceptable burst radius. And there's a very expensive special shell that has only one advantage, a slightly wider burst radius.
They do have a choice. If you are using the premium account and you have so much credits you can swim into them, you are shooting the golden high explosive shell. If you want to play in the budget way, you are shooting the standard shell, which is pretty much the same, just a bit less of the burst radius. That's it. That's the choice now.
Players don't have a wider choice even by paying more. On the Sandbox test server, we're bringing more variety by adding a 3rd tactical shell and adjusting the characteristics of high explosive shells. In the new system, the first shell of the Object 261, as well as of other SPGs, is the standard high explosive shell. It has a relatively high burst radius. It will still cause damage and stun the enemy, but won't be able to cause critical damage to internal modules and crew upon a non-penetration anymore. Its armor penetration will remain the same, but the basic damage value will be lower than the current one by 10%. The second shell type,
pretty much how the standard ammunition is going to look like for artillerists now. You are not doing critical damage anymore, so you won't ammo rack people, you won't lit on fire, you will simply stun and do damage. This is the first shell. Damage and stun time.
Is an alternative. It's also a high explosive shell, but it doesn't cause stun. Its burst radius is 2 times smaller than that of a standard shell, and its area of effect is 4 times smaller. But its armor penetration is roughly 50% higher than its current value, and its damage is 10% higher. Also, unlike the standard shell, it can cause critical damage to internal modules and crew. Finally, the
So the second shell is very, very simple. You are not stunning. What Wargaming is trying to do here, since they're adding more options to the artillery, is they want people to shoot the different types of ammunition, right? Instead of stunning, that's what they said in the first moment of the video. They want people, which is playing with artillery, simply use the other shells. As an example, alternative or AP shell, right? What is alternative shell? Armor penetration is increasing by 50%, right? Funny thing, we was doing some testing. I was playing with a budget. I was driving I was driving with a budget in the middle, right, making circles. I received 2 hits from Artis with a second shell. Both of the shells penetrated me because budget do not have any armor whatsoever. So if you will get hit straight in the face, there is a big and humongous chance you are going to get penetrated. So instead of getting splashed, you will take one for the team. But in the same time, if the Arta will miss you by the 5 meters, you won't take any damage whatsoever. So it's very, very debatable which ammunition is better. I think stunning is still, people will shoot stun rounds, or alternatively alternative rounds like Wargaming is presenting here. Those two are fine, but AP is a pure joke. Let's see.
Third shell type is tactical. In the case of the Object 261, it's an AP shell. However, some vehicles will have heat shells. This is a useful but situational shell that is significantly different from the ones that artillery used to have. Unlike high explosive shells, it doesn't have a burst radius and stun effect. It can only hit one target, but the damage upon penetration is much higher than that of a high explosive shell upon a non-penetration.
With 261, 470 APs. 470 APs. Now imagine that you can hit someone with high explosive and do critical damage. You can hit someone with stunning ammunition and you can stun them and be annoying, or you can shoot APs and miss your shots.
Tactical shells' armor penetration is 4 to 6 times higher than that of high explosive shells. Players will likely not use such shells as often as high explosive ones. We expect that they will comprise up to 20% of all shots.
If it would hit 5% of all shots in the battle, it would be, to be fair with you, a humongous success for Wargaming counting.
As you may have noticed, we aren't using the special shell term in the case of artillery. The SPGs won't have them. What's a special shell? It's a shell that guarantees a certain advantage for a higher cost in credits. Usually, it's higher armor penetration or burst radius for SPGs. Apparently, it's the best in terms of combat efficiency. In the new system, each artillery shell is drastically different from the others and is suited to different tactical situations.
That's true.
That's why the cost of the standard shell will remain about the same. The cost of the alternative shell will be much lower compared to special shells, although a bit higher than that of the standard shells. The cost of the tactical shell will also be close to that of the standard shell. Despite the changes in pricing, the profitability of the vehicles won't change much. Thanks to the 3 types of shells, the Object 261 will be able to appropriately react to different situations. The standard shell is the simplest to use. You won't cause much damage, but you will hit several targets at once while also stunning them. The alternative shell is for situations when you want to cause high damage upon a direct hit. Finally, the armor-piercing shell is the best option to fire at a heavily armored slower tank, especially if it's using a SPAL liner. Artillery players won't be able to play effectively using only one shell type. The key to success is the right combination of shells appropriate to the combat situation. Each of the 3 shell types has its own velocity and trajectory. The standard high explosive shell travels slower at a more curved trajectory. This shell is easier to lob behind a hill or cover. The alternative standard shell travels faster but at less of an arc. The trajectory of an AP shell is the flattest, but it reaches the enemy quicker than other shells. And it's not only because of the different shell velocities. They don't differ that much. This is about the trajectory itself. If it's curved, the shell needs to travel more distance. This causes the difference in the general shell flight time. Adding a new type of artillery shell entails logical interface improvements. When aiming, you can immediately see what shell type is currently loaded. Also, thanks to the special indication for each shell, you can evaluate if the shell can fly to the targeted location or if there are any obstacles in its way. If the indicator is green, you are able to hit that location. If the indicator is red, there is an obstacle in the way. Also, a more convenient way of changing aiming modes was added. After reaching a certain zoom value, you can go from the top view mode to the trajectory view mode when scrolling the mouse. At the same time, the G button on the keyboard will keep its function. There's also another useful new feature. You can now see the shell travel time next to the reticle. This will make the life of a regular artillery player easier under the
This is actually a good thing, so artillery players will see how long it is taking, how long your shells are traveling. In this kind of case, AP 1.4 seconds, high explosive, which is doing the massive damage, 1.7 seconds, and standard high explosive shell, which is stunning 2.1 second travel time. This is actually a useful feature for art, and in a way, it's going to make the artillery life so much easier.
The new conditions. It will now be easier to assess when exactly you need to fire when leading a moving target. But these are not all of the new interface features. More options and additional functions are available in the game client's settings. 3 different shell types offer new opportunities for artillery. But the long reload traditional for this vehicle type still remains. The combat situation can change quickly. So what can you do when the shell is loaded but it doesn't suit the situation? This is where quick switching between shell types comes in handy. The Reworked Intuition perk will be responsible for that in the new crew system. This perk will also be changed during Sandbox testing. It will work for any vehicle, not just for artillery, and will allow for switching the shell much faster than usual. A fully trained perk speeds up the process by 60%. The commander's bonus adds 6% more, and with the bonuses from Brothers in Arms, food consumables, improved ventilation, including the one for bombs, and directives, you can boost it even more. The chance to quick
83% to change the shell. 83% faster. So let's think about this. If object time is roughly 22 seconds, if you would cut 80% of all this, right, what do we have? 3 seconds to change the shell? 3 seconds to change the shell. It is crazy. So imagine that. It is making artillery even stronger in a way, right? As an example, Arta have one more shot left, right? Only one more shot left, and the tank which is coming for Arta have 400 HP. If the tank cannot, if the tank have a bit of armor and Arta know he cannot kill the tank with the high explosives, he can load the AP shell in pretty much 3 seconds. And if RNG is in Arta's side, he can kill the target. And after that, obviously the normal reload time. I don't know, I'm very, very skeptical about this, my friends.
Quickly switch the already loaded shell increases the diversity of delivering fire. It will be easier to adapt to constantly changing combat conditions. Under the new conditions, both tankers and artillery players will have more tactical options. The characteristics of the artillery itself won't change, but 3 different shell types have been added which are suited to different situations. A standard high explosive shell for the groups of enemies. An alternative shell for cases in which stunning the opponents won't give you an advantage, and it's better to cause high explosive damage. And the armor-piercing shell for cases in which there's a single well-armored but slow target. If the combat situation changes, there's the option to adapt by switching shell types quickly. Remember to be careful when playing as artillery. New Brighter Tracers is a tool in the hands of the enemy. The initial spot of tracer appearance is selected randomly along the trajectory. The tracer doesn't show the precise position of an SPG, but it helps enemies guess it. An artillery player from the opposing team can potentially guess where you are using this information. On the other hand, you can do the same. At the same time, tankers have received their features for actively countering artillery. They will help players better navigate in battle and understand how enemy artillery is playing. More visible tracers won't give away the artillery's precise location, but will indicate where they are and how to protect yourself against them. Sound detection serves the same purpose. The markers on the minimap will help show where the enemy artillery is firing and how long it will take for it to reload. And since artillery players will use 3 shell types, this will naturally decrease the amount of stun in battles. The previous artillery test on the Sandbox showed that these numbers reached up to 50%. With the help of the new mechanics that will be tested in the upcoming Sandbox, players will gain useful tactical information they haven't had before. The usefulness of these new features depends on how players use them in live conditions. That's why we need tests, to identify the drawbacks of the ideas and expose rough edges.
Once again, Wargaming presentation is sounding very, very nice. It looks nice and everything, but have you seen a single mouse in this test? Have you seen the E100 or a proper super heavy tank, maybe 60 TP, which is slow? What you've seen is a heavy tank Dodgefire 430U, which is agile SF, and it has very, very good speed, to be fair with you, and so on, right? It's not going to change the heavy life too much, and now I have other things to say, right, my friends? So the first thing which is causing a massive problem for majority of the World of Tanks players is 3 artilleries each battle. Correct me if I am wrong, but I think there is 70% of the battles when there is 3 artists each team, right? 70% of the games. It is madness, especially in the lower tier. M44 is a humongous problem. Lately I was playing in the tier 7, tier 6, and it is insanity what is happening right there. They are reloading like 12 seconds and they can stun you for 7 seconds or 8 seconds, and I'm not even speaking about penetration. So the whole idea from Wargaming sounds very, very beautiful. Heavy life is not being changed right there, in my opinion. I think it's literally the same as it used to be before. The life, quality of life changes goes for light tanks because they can dodge the shells, right? And quality of changes goes to the faster medium tanks or tank destroyers as a grille, right? You know the Arta shell is coming, right? But in the same time, you know, when we are thinking about Arta aim, right? I mean, you can go backwards, but Arta still can hit you, and RNG has a lot to do with it, right? It's just how it goes. Anyway, skill, what would you do differently, and how would you change the current situation in the game? First of all, what I would do, what Wargaming presented at first is over more than 50% of the players is playing with Arta, right? How about let's remove artillery missions? Artillery do not have missions, so players won't be forced to play with artillery for missions overall, right? They can play with Arta, obviously they can, but they won't be forced to get 260, to get 279, and so on. So this is my changes for how to reduce the players which is playing with artillery itself. I see a humongous amount of the people which is coming to the stream and saying, skill, I am playing with Arta because I have mission to go. Now I'm stuck on the T55A artillery 15 mission, but I'm getting there, right? I see plenty of those comments daily. So this is the thing, remove Arta missions, and that's how you are going to make a frustration way easier in the game, right? And second part, and the most important part, since there will be lower amount of the people which is going to play artillery when missions is going to be removed, how about limit 1 Arta per battle? Skill, fellas, yes, it would cause, it would be so much better situation for every single player which is playing heavy tank, medium tank, light tank, tank destroyer, doesn't really matter, and even Artas, 1 Arta per team would be very good. But now skill, how about the long waiting time? Fellas, if there would be quite a bit of if there is no missions to do for artillery, so people which don't like Artas, they are not forced to play with them, right? It's just completely unnecessary and so on. Overall frustration level would decrease dramatically, because even though if you are implementing all those changes what they are having here, right, 1 Arta per team is always would be amazing, right? And what they are doing right here, they're not making artillery gameplay harder or something. You can still watch the football match and you still can click in the same time, right? And you will still be outplayed like you used to be before. Now it matters with what kind of shell artillery is going to shoot. And once again, like I said, we was in the test server, right? The Sandbox test server yesterday, and I played with a budget, right? Budget 12T, sorry, budget 25T. So what happened? Obviously, players were good against what I was playing against, and I said, hey guys, давай, let's try to shoot me when I'm moving with a budget. 2 direct hits from Artas, 2 penetrations with an alternative shell, or the one which is not stunning but doing direct damage. It is madness, fellas. So yeah, and once again, limit Arta. Remove Arta missions, limit 1 Arta per battle, and check out which Artas are the most popular ones and how they are performing. If they are performing way better than others, M44, nerf them a bit to make them at least normal artillery, right? Not to make something super duper hyper turbo powerful. And that's my solution how to solve the problem in the current game, how there could be less artilleries, how people can be less frustrated and so on. Fellas, if you have some kind of constructed criticism, feel free to back me up in the comment section down below. I will send this video to Wargaming or this link so they can read what people has to say, right? And what is your experience in the battle? Do you agree with Wargaming? What they are doing right here is good, epic, and everything is fine, and this is going to solve the problem? Or there is some kind of other ways? Maybe you have something to offer how artillery could be less annoying in the battlefield, right? And once again, let's try to make game better together. It was a long one, it was interesting one, and I truly wanted to share my experience with this, and in my humble opinion, I think it's not going to solve anything. I think artillery will be as annoying as it was before. Now you simply won't know what kind of ammunition Arta will shoot. Either Arta will shoot the stun shells or the bigger damage shells or the same APs, right? That's the whole difference in my opinion, and Arta is still easy to play. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. It was a hard one, it was interesting one, so I can't wait to read your comments down below. Love you fellas, take care, have a good one, and skill is out for today. Peace. Pachoo!